A very warm welcome along, everybody, and thank you for joining us once again here on the Big Five Racing Podcast. What a week that was. I'm sure many of you didn't need the cast die-in that were really into the heart of the November and National Hunt season now and heading into a fantastic period. Broadcasters, we're kind of always observed to take history very sternly, but I think I'm getting quite a safe vote at this stage in the season to say that on the way towards the spring meetings, this is truly steering itself into becoming one of the most memorable National Hunt seasons there has ever been. I'll help persuade you alongside for the next hour, the warm company of these two, my great sparring partners, and we have some absolutely brilliant action for you this weekend, where we had 4 winners last weekend from a possible 4, a man going for his 5th winning nappers in as many weeks, one of the greatest 2-mile races you will ever see in the north of England, and it's Hennessy weekend from Newbury, which is always a fantastic betting heat. It's not a bad slate, that really isn't, Matty. And you'd have to be really hard drawn not to have assumed there was a bit of a Grinch-distanced grin across your face from proceedings at Haydock on Saturday. We will circle back round to the Betfair shortly, but of course, all high spirits, I'm sure, in Coventry household at the minute. And it's just been a brilliant, brilliant couple of weeks for racing.
Yeah, I think that weekend of racing just gone had absolutely everything, to be honest. I mean, we had a great stay and chase in the Betfair. Lossiemouth looked to be as good as ever. And then we had a superb race in Ireland on Sunday, which I'm sure we'll talk more about. But yeah, I think considering we're only in November, we might look back at that weekend just gone in March, April time and say that could be the best weekend of the season. But then looking ahead to this weekend, it could be about to get a lot better. So yeah, absolutely buzzing for, to recap all this and discuss the week ahead.
The momentum is just flying in the sport at the minute. And of course, we were brilliant for winners last week, thankfully. And speaking of winners this weekend, Cotty, we're all rolling on very good momentum at the minute, but none more so than yourself, of course. The naps are flying. You're playing on site at the lovely Newbury racecourse on Saturday. That all just seems a bit of an awfully bad concoction if you're a bookmaker. So this just feels good this week, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, in good form, and long may it continue because you don't stay in form for that long. The iron's not always hot, so we'll keep plugging away and trying. But no, looking forward to going to Newbury on Saturday, tick another course off the list, and hopefully do a few more over the next coming weeks, and eyeing up the King George on Boxing Day as well. So that'll be another one ticked off the list. But no, like Matty said, really, really good weekends racing. There's a few stars on show, especially Saturday, and they all got their head in front. You got Woodoo coming over from Ireland to win that race at Ascot. Thought that was very impressive. Looked in trouble, I think, for me, really. Swinging round the own bend, I thought she's really going to have to show some guts and pick up, and boy did she. So no, that was a good race. And then you got your jukebox man, the bet of the week for me, which went in. So no, it's good to see these superstars, go out and win, and show why they are superstars, and not just run and have a disappointing run. It's nice to see him go and do it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. There was some really good talent on show from the weekend, and we're going to take you through the best of that now to kick off. And oversight from the podcaster who hosts this, unfortunately, he forgot it was on Sunday, in all truth, but it was the first of the big sort of Gold Cup contendee races in Ireland of the season, especially we've got the Down Royal Chase as well. But we take you to Punchestown from Sunday first. There was only really one place this podcast was going to start, and that was from the John Durkan Memorial Punchestown Chase. In the end, turned into a thrilling betting heat before the off between Gaelic Warrior and Factor File, who were distanced in the market and then distanced, of course, at the race course. They pulled, I'd say, some 25, 30 lengths clear of the rest of them. Fast or Slow, Good Enough in third. It was about 2 horses, Matty, and 2 unbelievable horses from the same stable that gave us one of the most memorable races in the last 5-10 years. Gaelic Warrior, in the end, bypassed by Factor File at 1 out, used the rail under an unbelievable Paul Townend ride to get back in front. And you must have felt very good about putting them up on the podcast last week at 14s for the Gold Cup, slashed into around 8s now for that, if that's the route. But just the race itself on Sunday, it'll live long in the memory.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I actually missed the first start of the race. Couldn't get it to load on my phone, and managed to catch up about halfway. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing, really, how far ahead he was. And And then obviously listening to Paul Townend, it sounds like he was just very fresh and keen. And early on, first run of the season, you can give him that. But he looked empty turning in, to be honest. And I thought, wow, this, he could end up being stuffed. And to keep pulling out and find under pressure was really, really good signs from him. He's going to have to step up again to go and win a King George. That looks like the route they're going to go down. But he seems to have an awful amount of ability. Combine that with obviously fantastic battling qualities and toughness. I'm delighted that managed to get him in as a Cheltenham choice. And I think he's going to be my horse I'll side with in the King George, although we had two nice candidates from this side of the water come out and put in nice performances on Saturday. So again, another race that we can look forward to it in a month's time. And it's just really good time for racing at the moment, it feels.
Yeah, the domestic perennial chance in that King George to follow shortly when we review the 1965. I need to get your comment from yourself on this race, Cotty, because the tactical prowess that this became was just unbelievably stunning. Of course, Gaelic Warrior was bowled along from the front, used the rail, and always looked like he was going to have good pace and be keen. But I don't think anybody on planet Earth, including his trainer, possibly even his jockey, expected him to be 25 lengths clear down the back straight of Punchestown, reeled all the way back in by Factor File, but then the two of them just locked horns. And I don't know. It's a weird one from a betting perspective, because if you were on Factor File, you felt gutted, but then equally you couldn't be too upset. I didn't think, because you just on another day, is Factor File going to get past him? Is effectively what I'm asking you.
Well, it's actually on Factor File. I was watching it in the pub on Sunday, and when they jumped 2 out, I almost kind of thought, well, I almost celebrated as if to thought, well, it's money in the bank. And when he jumped 2 out, I thought Paul was cooked, and Mark would go win quite convincingly. And then he never actually went like a length up, did he? It was always half a length, just getting his nose in front. And then at the last, when he still didn't go clear, I thought, oh, I'm in trouble here. And then obviously Paul had the rail as well. And I mean, fair play to both horse and jockey to get back up, showed real grit and determination. But the whole race, and I think the last time I watched a race and thought, wow, was when Factor File won the Ryanair. I think that's the last race I can kind of put this on par with. I really enjoyed the Ryanair at the festival last year when Factor File won and absolutely obliterated a decent opposition, and the pair of them going to war on Sunday kind of reminded me of that. And a race that I'll be very, very hard to top. Obviously, you've got the fight in fifth on Saturday that we'll talk about in more detail, but how we'll ever top that race from Sunday this season, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, the bar has been set very high very early, hasn't it? Just two brilliant animals going at it. And I would be very hesitant to try and find horses that are going to beat them throughout the continuation of this season. It's fascinating because that's only half of the picture. You have the domestic challenge of something like a Grey Dawning can get himself back into the picture as the perennial 3-miler in this country. He's going to be there. And you've obviously got Galopin Des Champs to come back. The division at the minute for the Gold Cup is in a brilliant status. I effectively, the second they finished going across the line on Sunday, I said, right, I'm doing all 4 days at Cheltenham this year because I don't want to miss a Gold Cup that could turn out to be one for the ages. A fantastic renewal of the John Durkan from the weekend. We had racing from Ascot and Haydock in the UK on Saturday. We'll start from Ascot with the 1965 chase that was eventually won by the Arkle winner of last season, Django Bay, who went off the eventual 9-4 favourite. Another fantastic betting heat this was as well, between him, Pictori, Ile Francais and Gidley Park. Two of those horses finished. You can guess which one didn't because I tipped them up, but we'll go back to Django Bay firstly, Matty. Reds very patiently by Nico de Boinville, the pace that was on offer there. I suppose the ground was very continually testing, it seemed, at Ascot. Obviously, we'll get to Watt, who's racing the second, but Nico was asking for cover from this horse the entire time, wanted to build confidence into it, got the full step up to 2 miles 5 here, which I didn't judge was a good enough distance for him. Goodness me, I've been proved wrong there. That was very impressive on Saturday.
Yeah, I think unfortunately for you, Bob, you got it all wrong in that race on Saturday. I think it's time you leave Ile Francais alone now, to be honest. he obviously comes with way too many risks now, and he might come back and put in a performance, but I think you're going to have more bad days than good days with that horse now, unfortunately, which is a shame because he's obviously a massive talent on his day. But no, the winner, very impressive. And considering that Nicky Henderson's horses have just been improving for their first run, that was very good to go and do that first time out. Again, another one who's going to go on to the King George, and there's no reason why he won't have a great chance there. Just to add, I think the Arkle form from last season, I mean, on the day, I didn't think it was the strongest Arkle. I thought, obviously, Madgeborough was the hot pot, but you look at Le de Sud's come out and beat John Bon already. Django Bay's come out and won at Ascot. So, the Arkle form looks really, really good. And, obviously, hopefully we'll see Madgeborough out soon, and I imagine he'll do even more wonders for that form. But, no, impressive winner and another lively King George contender for the English.
Yeah, one of a couple that came out from the weekend. Gidley Park ran the best of the 3 tips we had there for yourself, Cotty. Was still semi-battered by 9 lengths in the end. But I liked a lot of what I seen from Gidley Park. His jumping seemed quite considerably improved, and maybe just a slight drop down in trip will probably do that horse the world of good. But this probably is a 1965 chase that we'll come back to quite a bit throughout the year.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. It wasn't on my bingo card for Gidley Park to make the run in, but he found himself there. Whether it was through a couple of nice early jumps, like you said, maybe that was it. And I think Brian Carver must have just thought, let's have a go. But no, the money was down, wasn't it, on Django Bay? To be honest, I was never really, before the race, I didn't fancy the French horse, and the way the Henderson horses have been running, Lucky Place the day before. Didn't run well. Obviously, John Bon at Cheltenham looked like it needed it. I wasn't really even though the money was coming, I wasn't too afraid of Django Bay. Little had a question mark over Pick Dory, but then he had a hard race in Charlie Hall. So I was going into the race, I was quite confident that I was on the right one at a good enough price. But no, the winner was very, very impressive. I thought the French horse and Pick Dory, they were beat a long way out, and yeah, the winner won very, very nicely, and all roads lead to the King George, you'd imagine.
Setting up for a very nice King George's, and I'll keep it with yourself here, Cotty, to go through the other race that we had from Ascot, the Ascot Hurdle. Who I think we put her up at 6-4. The money just continued to come. I suppose it helped that Gordon Elliott chose to be in England on Saturday. That really filled me with confidence. Danny Gilligan, I thought maybe I'm just hyping up another Irish jockey here. I thought it was a brilliant ride because Celtic Dino, of course, came to the stand-side rail at Ascot and ran a very good race. We've been asking for this horse to be run, and I think conditions will suit better on good ground for Celtic Dino. Potter's Charm ran a very good third, but all about Who in that final furlong, where when eventually she did straighten up, there was a lot to like there. No,
yeah, definitely. I think I saw a tweet on late Saturday night of Betfair saying that it hit 13.5 to 1 in running. I thought she looked in a little bit of trouble, but maybe that was, I wouldn't have had her that big. But no, yeah, I think the ride was very good. Kind of gave her time to really get into it and go through the gears and pick up nicely instead of going, asking for her straight away and catching her off guard. Kind of got her into third, fourth, and fifth gear. I thought that was a very good ride. But like you said, with Celtic Dino, I thought that was a monster performance on ground that wouldn't wouldn't be to its favour, and pulled out the Great Wood because of the ground, but then ran a week later at Ascot on arguably the same ground, you'd say, looking at what they were kicking up. But Sam Thomas must have needed to get a run into him. So no, that's definitely a performance you can upgrade. But no, I'd imagine Gordon Elliott will have a tough decision, like Willie Mullins will. Do you go to the champion hurdle or the mare's hurdle? It'll be easier for Gordon than it will Willie, but I definitely don't think you could rule her out with either.
Well, that's the question I wanted to come back to you on, Matty. Obviously this is now a horse that's proved it can get up the Cheltenham Hill, ran a brilliant second behind Lossiemouth in the Grade 1 at Aintree, has just picked up a Grade 2 at Ascot against probably some very decent horses. But I don't get the impression from Gordon Elliott that he holds this mare in the same regard as Brighter Days Ahead was 12 months ago, where that was just a sort of, I want this horse to go to the Champion hurdle. I think this one will be optioned up to the 2.5 mile race.
Yeah, I'd agree as well. But obviously a lot can change. I'm not sure where she'll go next, but that'll probably tell us a lot. Obviously, you mentioned Bright Days Ahead. I think Bright Days Ahead was a massive hype horse, whereas this horse, Wadu, just seems to go about her business, and she's not flashy, but she just gets the job done, and she's a really likable, tough mare. I've backed her a few times now in the Martin Pipe, and then on Saturday as well. And I just think she's one of those horses. She's going to give you a run for your money every time. So definitely be keeping on side with her where she goes. Obviously, with the mare's hurdle moving to the Thursday, that would mean it would be on the same course and distance as the Martin Pipe, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we know there's no problems with the track and stuff for the mare's hurdle. So, and I think Lossiemouth will go to the Champion Hurdle this year based on that performance we've seen from her. I mean, we didn't learn too much, but the fact that Willie ran her there and not this coming weekend, I think this will be the year they'll just give her a shot in the Champion, and then if she does go there and Wadu ends up in the mares, I'd say you could nearly add her to one of the bets of the week if she goes to the mares.
Yeah, of course, Willie has always had fantastic mares up his sleeve, and I'm sure that he's got a decision to make with Jade DeGruzy, whether she stays back over fencing after a poor performance on Sunday in Cork, and Cargis yet to obviously have the mind made up. But I would be pretty confident at this stage if you wanted to back Wadu for the anti-post markets if you were going down the mares route. Two left to take you from last week then, from Haydock quickly. We're going to go up to the Stayers Handicap Hurdle because these two managed to just ping out a 17-2 winner, as you normally do, of course, on a Saturday. Electric Mason, absolutely fantastic. Fell in a little bit at the end, but used every bit of 3 miles, Matty, to, I suppose, just make sure he was composed and jumped his hurdles very nicely, got up that very short straight at Haydock from the last, and probably a good thing that the hurdle was where it was, really, because it fell in.
Yeah, I mean, forget 17-2. I think me and Cotty will take the 14-1 that we put him up at the podcast.
You take the praise. Yeah, I'll take the step back.
No, good. Really good. That was a nice one. I was delighted to land a big winner for hopefully a few people managed to get on, because obviously put the horse up at Cheltenham. It was second, and didn't think it lost much that day, and just ended up being better with Marchand 2 at the weights on Saturday and got the job done. And it was a brilliant day for the Gordons, actually. 3 winners on the card. A grade 2 in the novice hurdle. Looks a smart horse, and obviously a premier handicap in that race, worth plenty of money as well. So great day for them, and great day for us as well, for me and Cott to get that up on the pod.
Absolutely, yeah. I had Horace's par in the race. We finished an all right 5th in the end, just never really got involved with the big contenders. You, of course, doubled this one up yourself. Cotty, unfortunately, the 1,500-1 forecast didn't quite go to plan, but a 14-2 winner at the top of the house is never bad in the handicap.
No, yeah, I thought the winner was away and gone. I think it was between 2 and 3 out. I thought, we were rowing along, and the jockey in front was sitting happy enough, and the gap wasn't really closing. And then I think within half a furlong of me thinking that, I was kind of out my seat, thinking, go on, get after it. And made up plenty of ground quite quickly, jumped the last well enough, and then the dreaded Sean Bowen's up your arse, and you think, oh God, here we go. If there's one bloke you don't want chasing you down, it's Sean Bowen. Oh, bloody, he nearly got us, but no, the line managed to come just in time. And any day is, if you can get a 14-1 winner, any day is special. But on a Saturday afternoon, in an ultra competitive handicap, it just it's just a cherry on the cake, and a great winner to get, and hopefully a few people were on board.
Absolutely lovely feeling, and a nice tip there from yourself and from Matty. Plenty, of course. Those 3 milers will meet each other throughout the season, and the form lines will develop all the way up to the festivals. The last race, the most important one for us, the Betfair Lancashire Chase, where we kind of tried our best in any sense and fashion to try and figure out what could possibly beat Grey Dawning. We had handstands and Haiti Color, the sort of unknowns at this level, both a little bit disappointing. The Irish Raider Stellar Story ran a pretty good race in third to stay on well. Royal Pagaille, what a legend he is around this place, was there the entire time, and you were just that you had the three in your mind of, are we going to get a repeat of what we've seen 12 months ago? Not to be the case. Grey Dawning finally picks up his Betfair chase in a very ice cold fashion from Harry Skelton, who Matty, I loved the ride. I mean, there's a couple of people calling him like a cocky bastard and things like that, but I love this ride because obviously the flashbacks from 12 months ago where he went too early, and I think he would be the first person to admit that, where he was allowed to be passed by a real groggy stayer in Royal Pagaille. He knew he had to get past on the bridle and then go and win his Betfair, and due diligence, it was a very good performance.
Yeah, really good. I think not necessarily the ride last year. I think the ground was what got him beat.
True.
Yeah, to make a mistake at the last on that ground and to try and get going again is just too hard, especially for a horse that wouldn't be at his best on that ground as opposed to Royal Pagaille. Yeah, it just felt brilliant to see him do what he done. I mean, it just looked effortless for him, to be honest. I thought, like you say, Harry, give him a fantastic ride, just oozed confidence on him, trusted him everywhere. And, when you're upside Royal Pagaille going to the line, he's never going to give up, but just shows what Grey Dawning had left in the tank, to be honest. And superb performance. I think it was superb. He's going to have to step up again to put himself in the Gold Cup picture, I think. I mean, beating a 12-year-old Royal Pagaille, it is his home conditions, but that's not going to be good enough to win your Gold Cup. But the way he done it, there's absolutely no reason to suggest that he's not at the peak of his powers at the moment. And be interested to see where he goes next. I mean, my first thought was the Cotswold Chase around Cheltenham. It's January time, isn't it? I think that's surely an option. And then Dan obviously did mention Leopardstown over Christmas, which would be interesting. But you'd imagine that Dan would want all the prize money in this country. But no, brilliant performance and an absolute joy to watch.
Yeah, brilliant. If Grey Dawning goes to Ireland in December, I'll give you 50-1 just for him to win the race. I was just really taken back by how good Grey Dawning was, Cotty. I suppose we've been waiting a long time for this horse. Like last season was just under par, really. I mean, he still had good wins throughout the campaign, and notably up at Kelso, and he wasn't a bad horse. But you're really hoping that he's able to reappear on his novice levels in open company now that he's had the season to kind of get used to the game. And I wouldn't rule him out of any sort of Grade 1 pictures throughout the entire season. I suppose they'll defect from Kempton, I'm sure. The King George isn't on the back of his mind, but we're finally getting there with our boy, aren't we?
Yeah, no, I think King George is definitely out of the picture. Dan said that the horse can't go right-handed, so no, there'll definitely be no.
Yeah,
King George.
He's not even entered in it. The entries come out today. He's not even been entered. So yeah, that's a no-go.
And just thought that the ride was absolutely superb. When you jump the last and you're hard on a bride look in a Grade 1 like that, you must give you some buzz. And I thought, is he going to press the button and go win by 5 lengths, or and he didn't, to be fair, and won really snugly. But if I was on board, I wouldn't be taking a risk up against a gritty horse like Royal Pagaille. I'd have had to press the button and win by 10. But that's why he's on the horse, and I was sat watching it on the telly. But no, very good ride. And like I said in the pod last week, that was, for me, I think that was his Gold Cup, and I think Dan was well aware of that. He was very bullish before the race. 115 grand, I think the winner got, and it's a very big pot to get. He had a nice one down Ascot as well. I think Calico, that was worth 56 grand. The horse that left Nichols seems to have, looks like it's improved a few pound. Catherine did Mathan or something. That was probably worth 30 grand. So no, Mullins will have to get his arse into gear if he wants to retain the title. I think Dan's had a really, really good start to the season, and long may it continue.
in his best position over the last 3 seasons now at this stage, Dan, than he was prior to that. And of course, he'll have continued great success in big handicaps and no doubt a festival winner or two, the way the operation's working at the Skeltons now. So that trainer's title, something we'll keep an eye out throughout the season and something I'm very excited to see. Can Dan Skelton finally put the great man to rest? What'll help is if you can pick up one of the big prizes from this week, and they are going to lock each other's horns on a couple of occasions this week in a absolutely fantastic 5 races from you this weekend. We've got racing over in Ireland at Ferryhouse, an absolutely brilliant Hatton's Grace between Teahupoo and Ballyburn. Really interested to get your opinions on that. We're going to go to Newbury first, and in between that we have the Fighting Fifth Hurdle. Tune in for that, folks. That is an absolutely brilliant renewal of the race. We'll go to the Friday from Newbury first, though, of their 2-day meeting for a novice chase that's set up really nicely. Matty was really keen to get this in, and I can see why. The 150s there, the Coral John Frankham novices chase, grade 2, 2 miles and 4 furlongs. Just about at the top of the market at the minute. Regent Stroll, Paul Nicholls has got to get going at some stage here. Expensive purchase this was a couple of years ago, 2-1. Wendigo, a bit disappointing last time out, but has an opportunity to bounce back here at 9-4. Kingston Pride for the Murphy Bowen Firehouse team. 4-1, bigger prices about the rest. I'll go to yourself here first, then, Cotty, for this. We've got Regent Stroll at the top of the market at 2-1. Heavy purchase back in the day. Looked good on his first start at Newbury that season, but then kind of fell away. Obviously, I suppose this would have been a very long-term target. It's a 237-day layoff, but no one likes it around this place. Can you understand why he's the 2-1 favourite?
No. To put it
Okay.
to put it bluntly. One, the layoff is a bit of concern. I don't think Nicholls' horses are anywhere near firing at the moment, and it's a pretty big layoff. The old 237 days. Did you say it was?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me first question mark. The second question mark I have, I don't think his form is, I think it's more of a hype horse than what we've actually seen on the track. I mean, it was sent off 5-4 for a shallow hurdle, got brushed aside, was fourth out of 7 there. 5-4 favourite. You'd like to think he'd go get the job done. I know that was won by the New Line, and that's favourite for the Fighting Fifth on Saturday. But in second place that day was Wendigo. So Wendigo's already beat Regent Stroll over hurdles. It then got turned over at Exeter at 8-11. Had a jog round Wincanton to win at 1-12. I mean, nobody learns anything there. And then, to be fair, was second in a Grade 1 hurdle at Aintree when last seen. The horse that day was won by a Gordon Elliott horse who looks to have a bright future, but I wouldn't be taking too much out of that race. So no, I just think 2-1 is skinny enough, and the horse that I've spoke a lot about on this podcast that I think could be a really good chaser is Wendigo. Does stay at the trip of 2 mile forward. I'd like to have seen this race at 3 mile, but nevertheless, I think his class could just could be a bit too strong here. Was done for a little bit of speed at Worcester last time out by a horse called Wade Out. It was obviously gone on to win at Cheltenham. I'd imagine will come on for the run 37 off, so would have been freshened up. Gavin Sheehan rides, who always does. Next in the market is Kingston Pride. Now that won a 3-winner race round Perth. I didn't think the form was too strong. Triple E Flyer got sent off odds on favourite that day. Came down 3 out with a sketchy round of jumping. That ran at Exeter the other day and didn't show much at all. The second in that race, Jet to Vegas, who Kingston Pride beat last time out, was seen at Ascot over the weekend. Came second again in a 3-runner race with Lucky Place trailing in last. But I think Lucky Place scoped dirty after the race and had a terrible mistake that day. So I don't think the form's too strong there. So I wouldn't be worried about Kingston Pride too much. So I think Wendigo here at 9-4 is a fair enough price, to be honest.
A deep breakdown there from you and a strong one on Wendigo to try and get back from a bit of a disappointing run last time out over his novice chase. Debut, are you in agreement, Matt? I suppose he's kind of nailed the good and the bad there about Regent Straw and the aspect of taking him at 2-1, where we're going to have to see some level of improvement, but possibly enough. Wendigo was second to a horse that's won, of course, last time out, like Cotty said there at Cheltenham. Or would you be looking at something possibly a bigger price to cause an upset?
Yeah, a Wendigo wouldn't be for me. I think he needs 3 miles. Proved that at Worcester. I mean, he's managed to be beaten by a horse in Weighed Out that looks like he wants about 4.5 miles. He's that slow. So I can't have him at 2.5 miles. And Regent Stroll's a pretty keen going horse. I imagine they won't be hanging around here. Wendigo is going to have to be pretty good to lay up with them. I like Kingston Pride. I get what Cott's saying, 3-runner race last time, but Jet to Vegas ran well at Ascot on Friday, considering how Lucinda Russell's horses are running. That was one of her better runs of the season. I do like that horse, but just at the prices here, this horse is rated higher than 4 above him in the market. Steel Ally for Sam Thomas. I know you're a massive fan of Sam Thomas as a trainer, Bob, and Dylan Johnston's a very good pilot in his own right. Made a lovely chasing debut at Carlisle, which isn't always the easiest place to start as a chaser. The tricky fences. It's an undulating track, and he looked to handle it as if he was as if he'd been chasing his whole career. Beat Unexpected Party that day. Is obviously a Grand Annual winner. Got so much more experience in him. I think that's a notable performance on debut for Steel Ally. I just think there's improvement in a lot of these at the top of the market. I mean, we've not even mentioned No Questions Asked yet, but he was a nice winner at Ascot. I was there when he won, and he took to fences really well. So I think this is an exciting race. Whether there's a grade one, whether there's an Arkle horse here, I'm not too sure yet, but there could potentially be. And it's just good to see these novice chasers taking each other on. I mean, we complained about it a lot last year where we were getting 1 and 2 runner fields, walkovers, and it's just good to see. Hopefully these all line up and have a go. I think this will be a really, really good race to kick the weekend off.
This runs deep. I agree that I think this is you're getting a nice field size. It feels like a kind of a good Group 2 flat race. This where there's a good enough amount of unknowns that you get a good price about the entire field. And I don't put you off Steel Ally. I was on him. I had a really good go on him at Carlisle there a couple of weeks ago when he won at short prices, and that saved a bit of a crap day for me. So nothing to put you off there, and should enjoy what is currently good to soft ground and doesn't seem too much rain in the Newbury area over the next couple of days. I'm going to really, really chance this Regent Stroll, probably for the last time if he is disappointing here. Cotty kind of nailed every single point that I wanted to get to, where there's been times where you can clarify him as a hype horse, and the win around Wincanton tells you nothing. But the kind of the 2 runs that you need to sort of take into factor here is that Maiden Hardily looked brilliant in a very, I suppose, a bit of a short price, but he won by 9.5 lengths here at Newbury, which I think is a strong suit. Ran on another flat deck at Aintree, of course, at the Grand National Festival, and finished a very good second to Honesty Policy, who was a bit of a spoiler as my nap for the weekend as well. So I'm hoping the form lines kind of just break out in its entirety from that race at Aintree. Distance, I think, is probably about right. I think he is a 2.5 miler against suspicions of other horses maybe that want further. I know you two think Wendigo is going to be a 3.5 miler in time, so this could be too sharp for him. Kingston Pride, I think, is definitely in that category to firm up to 3 miles. But I think if any of them are going to find the sharp pace well here, this just feels old school Nichols, bowl along from the front and try and kill them. And if Harry Cobden is able to do that, he was a brilliant front running jockey. I just think this is the right one. I am asking you to buy in very skinny there at 2-1, but if his jumping is improved over chasing, I don't see any issues with distance, and I think that there's a good chance for him to take this pot. On the Friday's little warm-up out of the way then, and we move on to an epic Super Saturday. If you're going to just sit at home and watch some racing this weekend, it's strongly advised you get into your seat early, because there is some brilliant racing to take you from. We've got a couple of big races to come. Before we do that, we've got a nice little warm-up from the 2:15 at Newbury, which is the Coral Intermediate Handicap Hurdle over 2 miles and half a furlong on a 4-1 field with plenty in there, including the Durrell, who's got the favourite with Live Conti at 4-1. Who was very impressive last season. I suppose I'll start with you, Matty, then with your old pal Tristan. He's on a good enough favourite here in a good position. Won over 2 miles last season, carries top weight here of 12 stone. But As a wise man once said, there's a reason that he's carrying 12 stone is because he's the best horse in the race. Are you going to back the best horse in the race?
No, I'm not. I just think, between Liv Conti and Give It To Me OJ, I think there's two very nice horses there. But to be carrying, both be carrying 12 stone as 4-year-olds in an intermediate handicap hurdle, this is a good race. I think that's a massive ask. I think down the line they'll turn out to be probably two of the classier horses out of this bunch, but I just think this is a big ask for both of them on Saturday. I'm happy to be proved wrong, but I've said it a few times. Just think when the 4-year-olds step into open company after juvenile seasons, it's a lot trickier for them. So I am going to go for a 4-year-old, but it's got no weight on its back. That's Vianney for Harry Derham, Paul O'Brien on board. 3 runs, won twice, beaten by Lilamba at Ascot in his only race that he hasn't won over hurdles. So happy enough with that form. He was one of the horses that was galloping on the Newbury gallops this morning, and I watched interviews from Harry Derham and Meg Nichols. They were very happy with the horse and thought he'd come to this race and have a real good chance. So I think I'm happy to put this horse up. Harry Derham, obviously, doing well on the up as a trainer, and this could be one of his smarter handicap hurdlers this season. So I'm going to go for Vianney 6-1.
Comes here on a 297-day layoff, carrying 10 stone 9 there. He's been well kept away, probably with this in mind, you'd imagine. Harry Derham looking to get one on the board. He's gone against them. I mean, I don't know what more to say here other than Give It To Me, Cotty.
Yeah, I'm split between there's a couple I like in this, to be honest. The only thing putting me off Liv Conti is the 12 stone. Obviously, Tristan claimed 3, but that's still a hefty weight to carry after a back of a layoff. Give It To Me OJ was good at Cheltenham. Hamlet's Night pushed that all the way to the line, and then Frank the Form running second in another grade 2 against maybe a below par Rubo, but still put in a decent performance that day. The one that does catch my eye at 8-1, and I'm not its biggest fan, Paul Nichols, but Jubilee Alpha here. I think the mare could have a cracking chance at 8-1. I got stuck in the last day when she ran at Wincanton a few weeks back, made a shocking error 2 out. Would have put most horses off its feet, but managed to find a leg, rallied, and went down a length in the end. But if it wasn't for that, would have been a hard held winner, I'd imagine. And no, interesting to see the price of 8-1. Won't mind what the ground does. Can go on good ground. Has won on soft. Has had 1 run round Newbury. Not that I think it's a must to have a run round Newbury, but it's always nice to see. Was third in a listed novices race that day, and only beat a length. I just think I will probably Give It To Me OJ and Jubilee Alpha both each way, but in terms of one I'm more confident on, I was very impressed with the way Jubilee Alpha travelled the last day, and maybe that jump 2 out might have just give her a little scare, and hopefully she'll be a lot better at her hurdles come Saturday.
Yeah, it probably that's the one thing I'd have with Jubilee Alpha. Just needs to respect her hurdles a little bit more, but otherwise seems reasonably well handicapped in my opinion there. I think you get a reasonably decent price against a Paul Nichols horse, and Paul Nichols, of course, is one of his many back gardens. I'm not getting off him. I'm a bit sad that you two are after that fantastic day we had out in October at the October meeting from Cheltenham. I get that you're going to have to buy into a 12 stone 4-year-old, but there's a reason he's a 12 stone 4-year-old. What he's done to date now in a pretty busy couple of seasons under rules has been very impressive. Of course, he had that brilliant flat campaign that we alluded to whenever we tipped him up for the Cheltenham meeting, where he won 2 fantastic races at Epsom, including the Jump Jockeys Derby, came back and proved himself then to win that 4-year-old race at Cheltenham as well against Hamlet's Knight, who I absolutely agree with Cotty. I think that form is working out very nicely. And I think Hamlet's Knight, if he was here, I probably would have gone with him each way as well. But I thought 6-1 seemed a pretty reasonable price. There was talk about where this horse was going to go next after that run. There was a flat handicap at the end of the season at Doncaster. They decided against that. I thought it was a great idea. Pretty ground versatile. Probably prefers it on the faster side if it's possible. The hurdles course on Saturday is currently declared as soft, so I wouldn't mind seeing it kind of dry out a little bit. But only 8 hurdles to get round here, and I think that there's a possibility that he's just too good for these, in my opinion. And that's kind of what I'm banking on the Saturday. Actually, in fact, I'll say it this way. 3 big races now then to take you from our 3 feature race courses from the entire weekend. If you can't get up for the next 15 minutes of this podcast, I don't know what you're doing international hunt racing. Probably my favourite handicap outside of the Grand National all season over jumps is where we're going to go to first. The 255, known to many of us as the Hennessy's, the Coral Gold Cup handicap chase over 3 miles and 2 furlongs really paints the picture for the staying chasers throughout the season. 2 favourites at 6-1 at the top of the market, including last year's Ultimate winner Maya Town, who reappears here at 6-1. Resplendent Grey has been busy, is in there at 6-1 as well, and then bigger prices about the rest. A lot of horses that we've backed in the past. A strong contingent coming over as well from the Irish Seas. Cotty alluded to it earlier that we're going to have to see Willie Mullins get going at some stage. He's got a couple in there at decent prices, as does the Skeletons. Of course, Panic Attack won there 2 weeks ago. What a turnaround this would be with Tristan Doyle taking that ride as well. He'd have been good to get on this week, really, Matt. He's got some fantastic rides. And you've got Panic Attack there at 16-1 in this as one of the bigger prices. I'm not going to try and even guess where you're chucking your dart here because it's all kind of wide open, but interesting to see where you're going.
Yeah, tricky betting race. I loved Maya Town last season and backed him at the festival when he won, but the form of the Lucinda Russell horses is putting me off massively, so I don't think I can bring myself to back him. The first one I like at a biggish price, 16-1, Victorino. Again, Venetia Williams hasn't started firing as of yet, but Royal Pagay obviously ran very well. Marta Tor ran well at Ascot as well, so hopefully her horses are just about to turn, and she's going to hit some form. He was third in this race last year behind Can Do Kid. He just looked a bit lethargic that day, and his jumping wasn't great. And you know, if he could have made life a bit easier for himself, he probably could have won that day. I
actually thought it was quite impressive that he was able to get third that day for the amount of mistakes he made, and he looked sluggish. I thought his staying was very good.
I know, I do. You know, and you find it a bit with these Venetia Williams horses, but hopefully they've just got him a bit more tuned up for this year. I can't see why this wouldn't be this horse's big target. You know, he obviously ran well in the race last year. I just think 16-1's a big price. If her stable was a bit better form, it definitely wouldn't be that price. And I think Resplendent Grey has got a massive chance, to be honest, for Ollie Murphy and Sean Bowen. I'll probably play the both on the day. But I just think, he's a horse that was a fantastic staying chaser last year. Obviously won the big race at Sandown, the Bet 365 on the last day of the season. Managed to get his head in front already this season, beating Handstands. And I thought Handstands ran okay in the Betfair chase. He was a bit of a weird run, but he definitely showed he's got plenty of ability. So I think that form's good enough. Another one of the horses that was galloping at the Newbury Open gallops morning the other day, and Ollie Murphy and Sean Bowen seemed to be very happy with the horse and how he was going, and this race has been the plan for it all season. And I think Ollie Murphy's proven that he's becoming a very good target trainer on Saturdays. Probably not quite up to the Dan Skelton levels yet, but he's definitely getting there. And when he does map one out for a race, he doesn't really miss very often. So 2 for me there. And hopefully we can land one of them.
10s from 6s and 33s into 16s about your 2 horses coming for good money there. Victorino, decent enough last season. Resplendent Grey, one of the best horses in Ollie Murphy's stable. This will have been a very well mapped out target from its win 4 weeks ago. I'll jump in with mine because I'm really interested about Cotty, so I'm going to give him the air to do so. I've gone with 2 near the top of the market, 1 at the top of the weights, 1 right down at the bottom. I'll start with the one at the top of the weights. We talked about Willie Mullins needing to come over and starting to get his act together. And this is a horse that's been running in these sort of long distance handicaps and nationals now for a couple of seasons. It's Spanish Harlem there at 12-1. Probably the pick of the 2, depending on who comes over to ride it. I would probably guess that's going to be Danny Mullen's saddle on the Saturday. And I've really liked the way this horse has progressed over distance and time. Picked up back-to-back wins at the in the last couple of months as well, including a nice win there at the Listowel Festival a couple of months ago now, over 3-card brag at a big price, which was a bit of an upset there at 11 stone 1. Has to carry 11.10 here, which is probably always a bit of a problem. Unless Willie's going to send one of his claimers over to do a bit of a job on it. But some really good runs there last season. Was involved in that ridiculous running of the Scottish National. You remember last season. I can't even remember what 2 letters you'd put beside his name for what happened to him. It was ridiculous. But since then, has had 3 good runs. A good 4th in Sandown behind Resplendent Grey. Has to give £2 away here this time as well. So I completely coincide with Matty's angle there of taking Resplendent Grey, but I'm getting double the price of a horse that I've only got to find 6 lengths on. I think that's pretty fair. Katate Dory's the other one for me. I said it as well earlier. I've always been really big on Sam Thomas as a trainer, and 10-1 here seemed pretty decent. Not the best of runs last time out at Aintree. Impulse Toy was just far too good from that day and didn't get round in the ultimate. But before that, I backed him a couple of times. Chepstow and Kempton, he picked up victories and was second at Wincanton. The one at Kenton was just absolutely brilliant. 15 lengths, smashed to Highland, who I wouldn't give any chance here. Getting £8 off him as well. That was brilliant. Should take to Newbury pretty decent. I don't think he's run here before, but I like the idea of Dylan Johnson chalking £3 off this and 10 stone 3. I mean, that's very exciting, really, isn't it? If you want to try and find one that's well handicapped, I thought 10-1 offered a decent price, hopefully on pretty decent ground. Most importantly, I'm really excited to see what you're going to go for here, Cotty. I assume you're going to chuck a couple of darts at this, and anything at the top of the market, really, that's caught your eye, and then kind of trying to figure out how this very good handicap can break down and you can find one at a decent way.
No, I think you're only going to need the one dart here. Pretty confident on Resplendent Grey here for the Ollie Murphy and Sean Bowen team. I like the fact that it's had a run under its belt, unlike Town, the other joint favourite. Thought was Resplendent Grey was very good last time out at Carlisle, beating handstands, who put in a real good performance. I thought ran well for a long enough way in the Betfair. I wouldn't, it was 4th out of 5, but beat 14 lengths. But I thought travelled well enough throughout the race to show that Resplendent Grey has beat a decent enough animal that day. Turned up to the Newbury Gallop day and had a decent piece of work from what the trainer was saying. Sean Bowen in the saddle's a positive tick, and he's had a couple of big Saturday winners so far. Ollie Murphy, when the season was just getting going, but the Coral Gold Cup, also known as mainly known as the Hennessy. I think this is a race a lot of trainers have a lot of pride having horses in this race. It's a proper race, and no, I think 6-1. I mean, if you're that type of punter, and you think you can't sit out the top 5, then W stake can go each way, and if it places, then you've got a free hit kind of thing. If I was to look down the market a little bit, there's a horse of Alan King's called the Doyen Chief. That ran well last time out at Bangor on very soft ground. Was second to a horse called Deep Cave, who actually won a big pot in the Grand National meeting. Didn't jump well at the last the Doyen Chief, but I don't think that would have made too much difference to the result, but definitely didn't help it. Won't mind what the ground does. Has shown it can win on good ground, and ran a decent enough race last time out on soft. That's 16-1. The form figures there always in the top 3. This is obviously a lot deeper race, but is in at 10 stone 6 at the minute. So that could be one for your each way angle, but for a win purpose, I'll stick with Resplendent Grey. But if I can have an each way go as well, it would be the Doyen Chief.
I'm just not sure at this stage whether I want to insult you two about getting a room for cajoling your handicap picks together, or trying to just go, well, I might just get on side because you're picking them up every single week. Resplendent Grey, a very nice tip there for the two of you at the top of the market. One Dark Cotty, there's a new nickname for him.
and I put
Saturday.
2 up, but no, the favourite will be hard to beat.
Well, if the other one wins, you can still have a graphic anyways. The feature race of the entire weekend, and this side probably of Christmas. The 2 o'clock from Newcastle is where we're going to take you to next for the 5-runner BetMGM Fighting Fifth Hurdle. It's a grade 1 over 2 miles and 1 furlong. Probably the greatest race that's ever been run in the north of England, in all truth, bar a couple of good St. Ledgers. Constitution Hill, I don't have my alarm, unfortunately, but Constitution Hill is a name that gets mentioned on this podcast probably about once a month, and it gets mentioned in households every single time you sit down for your Christmas dinner, Sunday dinners, and everything in between. He's the 6-4 favourite, looking to come back from a bit of a disappointing season last time out with 2 falls and only managing to finish out the back of the telly at Punchestown. He's going to have to take on the current champion hurdle favourite, the New Lion, 7-4, won the Turners last year at the festival and is looking to drop back down to 2 miles here and prove he is the perennial contender at this level. Anzadam skipped last week to allow for Lossiemouth to go in favour of Punchestown, comes over here 3-1, has been fantastic, and we mentioned him, of course, in the podcast last season. Could be a real, not a shock by any stretch, but could really put the throne down on the Wooly Mullins charge here over the weekend. Golden Ace, the champion hurdle winner last year, she's got to really improve, of course, from a disappointing run at Weatherby at 25s, and Kerry Lee wants a nice day out and is going to get it at 66-1 with Nemean Lion, who I don't want to see anybody talk about for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to come to Cotty first because there's only really one place to start, and that starts with a C and ends in Constitution Hill, doesn't it? Because, of course, this is the most talked about horse of the last decade in National Hunt racing. Nobody talks more about what this horse can, has, and probably will do in the future. Of course, the question marks you have now, of course, come from the 2 falls in those 2 big grade 1s last season, and then disappointing when he went over to Ireland and just didn't fire that day under James Bowen. Nico's back on board. I can't wait to find out what you're about to tell me.
Confused. I'm not too sure in terms of what I think is going to win. I couldn't have a Scooby. Constitution Hill. I mean, that Newbury Gallop. A lot of people seem to be very impressed. But the issue we've had with this horse since, well, a lot of people have had issues with its jumping before, but until obviously it sprang to mind for the majority was the champion hurdle this year. Obviously Fall and then Fall again at Aintree, and should never really have gone to Punchestown. I think that was more of, people in Henderson's ear and potentially.
I felt that run at Punchestown was just desperation. I think it was a case of he had the falls. They need to get a win, a grade 1 into this for the sake of Michael.
Yeah, it was almost like, well, we'll roll the dice again and see what happens, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Let's try roll a 6 when, I mean, Nicky Anderson couldn't have won. We're sat here now saying that he shouldn't have ran, but if he didn't run, we'd have been sat there saying, well, why has Nicky Anderson not sent it over? So he couldn't really win there, Henderson, in all fairness. But yeah, he didn't seem himself that day over in Ireland, kind of ducked at the tape, didn't he? And was looking at bushes or whatever they said he was looking at. Yeah, going back to the Newbury Gallop, everyone was, saying how the champ's back and all that, but the way he's travelled and the way he runs has never been the real issue, has it? Since March, it's been about how he can jump. So I don't think I can take 6-4. I'd get the same enjoyment if I didn't have a penny on and just watch him win by 15 lengths. And then you've got the New Lion that's not been seen since winning the Turners at the. Is it the Turners?
Yes.
Yeah. Since winning at the festival, the drop down to 2 mile, 2 mile 1, isn't it? The fighting fifth, but the drop down in trip for me is a slight question mark. That run that day, it didn't scream to me that a drop down in trip would be the ideal play to go, but I've not Dan Skelton, and obviously JP McManus must also be in agreement with Dan in order for the plan to go ahead. And then I think the most interesting runner for me out the 3 is Anzadam. To miss that hurdle race last weekend, that the Donnellys, it must mean a lot to them. State man winning it most years through the road, most years throughout the most recent years. To not send that horse there and still be left in this race must, Willie Mullins must think that he's got a real superstar on his hands to throw this in the deep end after not running for 307 days, or maybe he's not sure what he's got and he's just going to throw it in to see what he has got. I'm not that close with Willie Mullins, so I wouldn't have a clue what he's thinking. But no, I couldn't give a tip because I'm not going to have a bet. I generally wouldn't have I haven't got a massive take on the race. I just want the front three to all jump the last in a line, all get home safe and sound, and all three of them go to war in a furlong out. The other two, I mean, they're not nobodies because obviously Golden Ace has won the champion hurdle, but that run at Wetherby 4 weeks ago was absolutely desperate, and how that can turn that form around that quickly, I'm not too sure. And then I'm pretty sure the Neon Lion is only entered because if it gets round, it makes $5,000 more than the supplementary fee.
Oh, right. Okay.
I read that. I think if it just gets round, it makes $5,000. I could be wrong, but that's what I read. But no, I want Constitution Hill to win, but as long as it's a good race to watch, then I'm not too fussed. But if you want one for a graphic, I'll go with Anzadam. Fuck it.
I just put it away as well because I was going to give a nice little speech, like, understandably in races like this you don't need to have bets because the field is in a brilliant status, isn't it? Here, Matty, we've got obviously that balance of unknown. Well, not unknown. That's harsh because the new line was fantastic in the Turners, but Anzadam, I suppose that probably applies to a little bit more. Going up against on his day, the best 2-miler in my lifetime, anyways. Of course, a lot of people go back to Isterbrack, and there's been other fantastic 2-milers in between those as well. But for good measure in this country, at least, Constitution Hill has been the best has ever been. And you now have a chance at 6-4 to believe what you've seen in a gallop at Newbury. Comments from his trainer to say that he's back and as good as he ever has been. And plenty of media proposition to tell you this horse is going to win another champion hurdle and he's going to kickstart his career here in Newcastle. I'd be interested to see your take on him in the field.
Oh, it's tough. I said it to you before I come on. I think, any true racing fan should be able to appreciate this race without having a bet. I certainly won't have a bet on it. There's no need to. There's too many unknowns. We're going to learn a hell of a lot from this race. Question marks over the New Lion. Is he got the speed for 2 miles, grade ones? Is Constitution Hill going to come back? And what is Anzadam? I mean, we've seen him run twice and he's been impressive, but he's obviously fragile, perhaps tricky to train. I remember Willie sent Mystical Power over for this race after he won a Supreme and absolutely bombed out. So I don't think I could go, all in on
that for a week after that race.
I don't think I could go all in on Anzadam, albeit I think he's exciting. I wouldn't write Golden Ace off at all. I mean, she obviously was wrong at Newbury. That was at Wetherby. Sorry, that was not her. Obviously, she's got to step up. But she did win a champion hurdle, and it just wouldn't surprise me if she was not that far away. I don't think she'll beat these, but like you say, Nemean Lion, if that wins, I mean, good God, I think we'll just postpone next week's podcast if that wins. But it's just tricky. I mean. I think every true racing fan wants to see Constitution Hill back because we know he's probably the best horse in training at the moment. Well, has been with his ability, but he's had problems. But Henderson's done it before; he can do it again. I'll just be glad to not hear any of these interviews from him after Saturday because I just think they're just a bit tedious now. I mean. Yeah, it's great that, we've seen him gallop at Newbury. He's galloping at home, superb. But let's just get to the race now. No more talking. And let's just see it. And, the plan is me and Cotty are going to be at Newbury on Saturday. And I'm sure we'll make sure that we're based up nice and close to a TV so we can get a good view of the fighting fifth. And as racing fans, just enjoy it. And but it's quite simple. Purely for a graphic / I'll go Anzadam with Cott just because, nice price, But I certainly won't be having a bet in the race, and just going to be exciting. I wanted to speak briefly about I'm not sure how it's going to plan out tactically. I mean, Anzadam has been held up both of his runs for Willie. I don't see why they change that now. So I imagine he won't be doing it. I'd like to see them make the run in on Constitution Hill, get him out there, let him enjoy himself, let him see the hurdles, and just, he's got nothing else to think about. He's just got to jump what's in front of him, let him travel as he pleases. I'd be surprised if Harry Skelton made the run in, but then again, he won't want it to turn into a sprint. He knows the New Line stays, so he'll just want a true end-to-end gallop. But it's going to be really good, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. If it's just a shame that it's in a different continent, otherwise I'd love to make the trip up to watch it.
I think I would have had to have left yesterday to get to Newcastle in time. A great analysis there, and I love the idea of the breaking down the race where we're going to talk about possibly Constitution Hill making the running out of the 5 of these. And one of his best performances came actually in the 2.5 mile Aintree hurdle, where he made the running, or he was very prominent throughout and was given the time to skittle over his hurdles. Obviously, that was at a time where he was formidable and was going off then at like 1 to 6 every single week, but it was still a very impressive performance. You've now kind of got the gist of things where he's moved into a 6 to 4 contention, and there's a reason why. I'm a writer. I do a lot of reading, obviously, and in a sport where you've got a real romance that you can make about the game, it is fantastic to just have this horse back at a racecourse where many of us believed, after seeing dirty scopes and poor performances and falling at hurdles, that the end of his career came at Punchestown 6 months ago. And in the eyes of many, that's still the case, where they believe that the run kind of subdued him to a position where he can't possibly win another good Grade 1. And there's many great analysts in the game who would believe to that theory, and obviously none more so than Johnny Deneen, I suppose, is the big name. But what you have to remember is this horse doesn't need to be 100% of what he once was to win a race like this. The New Lion is good. I don't think he gets 2 miles as quickly as these. Anzadam is anything, and I think he's going to be exciting and definitely one of the contenders, definitely over the 2 mile trip. Second to Lossiemouth in the stable, as that was confirmed, obviously, from the runners of the weekend. I don't need to see Constitution Hill at 90% to win this race. I agree with the boys. This isn't a race that you should have a big bet on because you don't need to enjoy it. I'll have a bit on Constitution Hill, and this is my last dice with him. If he, as Ole Franze did last week, proved to me he's not capable of winning these big races anymore, then I'll get off board and I'll just accept that the great days were there, but they're not going to re-come back. But I think you're still looking at one of the best hurdlers in this country now, as he has ever been. And I think that 6 to 4, I don't like that he's the favorite, but I understand it because that's public money. It's idiots like me thinking he's still got a chance at this level. But you've got to remember, he has already achieved a rating of 172. The New Lion has £13 to get to that stage, and he may well do one day. But I just think Constitution Hill is going to be able to run them down in the fighting fifth. One race left to take you from this weekend, and it is yet another Grade 1, just to show you how strong the racing is this weekend. And if it's anything like the Irish Grade 1 that we had on Sunday 2 days ago, this could tee itself up very well. It's another heads up this year in the Bar 1, the betting's Hatton Grace Hurdle Grade 1, 2 miles and 4 furlongs, the extended distance here for those possibly looking to become stayers. A staying champion already in his own mind, Teahupoo comes here every single year. It's his other race of the year, other than, of course, going to the stayers. Tees up here as the even money favourite, which he was around last year when he was defeated by Lossiemouth. This year, it's Ballyburn who's going to go back over hurdles here with the stayers in mind at 6 to 4. And you'll see Paul Townend go back to Ireland for that ride on Sunday. Mystical Power, who we mentioned earlier. If you back that, you deserve everything you get at 8 to 1. And then it's big prices about a couple of Gordon Elliott horses. I'll come to yourself then, Matty, for this one. We've got a fantastic little heads up here. It's going to do well to go as good as the John Darkin did at the weekend, but it was a good renewal last year. Lossiemouth was too good for Teahupoo. Teahupoo's an easy horse really to talk about. You know how good he is. You know what he's going to do every single year. You know he's got the ability to win races like this, and that's why he's even money. Ballyburn, disappointing last year in his chase status, but goes back over hurdling here, which looks an absolutely brilliant decision, in my opinion, for Mullins. Which side of the coin are you on?
Ballyburn for me. Never got on board with Teahupoo personally. I just don't like horses that, like him, he runs twice a year. always seems to find a bit of an excuse, I think, as well, when things don't quite go his way. Obviously, he's a Stayers Hurdle winner. He's a fantastic horse, but Ballyburn, I mean, this is a horse we were talking about last year being a Gold Cup horse. He looked the real deal. Didn't go to plan over fences, but I don't think he's lost any ability. I just don't think he was a chaser. So coming back over hurdles, I think he's got more ability than Teahupoo, and I'm surprised at the prices. To be fair, I'd have him reversed. I'd have Ballyburn at evens and Teahupoo at 6-4. But no, Ballyburn for me.
I'm on Ballyburn, and I agree with you, but I disagree with nearly everything else you said there. I mean, it's very harsh comments there about Teahupoo.
I think in racing, you build certain affinities with horse. I mean, you and Croke Park, for example, there's no reason for you to be in love with him as much as you are, but you just are. And I think it happens the other way around. There's just certain horses I'm not personally a fan of, and that's nothing against the horse. It's more me, I guess. But no, I love Ballyburn. Didn't go right for him last season. Forgive him that. He's got heaps and heaps of ability, and I think he'll end up being a Stayers Hurdle contender for sure.
Dual Grade 1 winner, but Croke Park, you're having to go out there, by the way. Just, no reason. Cott, I know you love this horse at Teahupoo, and I don't know what your face was suggesting there whenever when Matty suggested this horse has excuses and he doesn't have an affinity. Fair enough. You're not going to love every horse in the game, but I love Teahupoo. I've always been a big fan of him, and especially when he gets to Punchestown at the end of the season, I always have a nice little crack on him. I don't know what side of the coin you'll land on here, because I know you're a decent enough Ballyburn fan too, but harsh statements there for Teahupoo, I thought.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with you there, Bob. I thought the comments were a bit harsh, but I suppose that's why we love the game, because there's so many opinions. But after what Ballyburn did to us all at the festival this year, back the horse at 66-1, let alone 6-4. I don't care if it's over hurdles and not fences this time. Yeah, no, not for me. Teahupoo at 10-11, even money. Happy enough to take the play here. The layoff isn't too concerning, considering it doesn't run too often and does go well fresh. Always targets this race for seasonal reappearance. So Gordon Elliott would have this horse, pretty spot on to do itself justice here. Yeah, I'm not too worried about Ballyburn. I mean, it was disappointing at Cheltenham. Didn't jump great. You think, okay, fair enough. Go over to Punchestown and sort yourself out. And then no, gets done 6.5 lengths to Champ Kylie, who was probably about the 9th string that day. So no, I've give up all hope on Ballyburn. And if it goes and wins at 6-4, then fair enough. But no, I'd much rather back Teahupoo at even money for I'm never really a fan either of horses coming back from fences down to the smaller obstacles. Teahupoo's £2 well in on ratings, you could say. Yeah, even money. Gordon Elliott seems to favour this type of. It's better this time of year than
Yes.
than Mullins as well. So I think that's probably a factor into the prices as well. But no, if you give me even money that Teahupoo will beat Ballyburn, then I'll shake your hand 100%.
Right, good sledging from both sides of the coin there. I like that. Good sort of interest. I kind of stand in the middle. I think these are two fantastic horses, and they're probably both going to win some edition of races across the spring festivals. Whether they take themselves on each other over 3 miles at Cheltenham, that's for them. This is a different discussion. I think the sharper of the two over 2.5 miles would favour Ballyburn. I think conditions suit better. Teahupoo, as won this race 2 years ago, was second to Lossiemouth, who was a brilliant 2.5 miler, so that's fine. You're kind of in the middle between those two runs now with Ballyburn, but I just thought 6-4 probably felt like slightly right. I think they'll probably both go off about even money in all truth. I don't think there'd be too much in the market. I'm not tipping them up or anything, but Cashel Day Lad I thought was way too big at 16-1. That'll be the first of Gordon Elliott's here for the Bective Stud. who won at Down Royal a couple of weeks ago at a very short price when the other Gordon Elliott horse came out that day. But before that, won at the Kerry National Festival at Listowel. I thought was very impressive that day as well. Got his head down nicely to win by a length and change. And I think that even the run in Galway in the summer, I just thought 16-1 about a horse that is going to love being at 2.5 miles. I think the conditions are very well suited for him. He's been running his best over 2.5 miles. So I think the step up and triple would be nice for him. And I thought that was just a good enough price to put in. Maybe as an upset, which would you? And for those nap of the weeks, we are in a position where one man is going for a 5-timer. I'm looking for my first win in 4 weeks. And then in the middle of all of this, Cotty, that Matt, you got on the board, I believe, over the weekend as well. You've got a bit of momentum to fly on. Newbury is on your mind on Saturday, and so is this horse. Who are you going for?
Yeah, we won't talk about last week's nap at the price it went off. It was poor from me. I thought you'd get a bit bigger about it, but no, can't really count that. So going to look for one I think is going to be a bigger price this weekend. It comes on Saturday at Newbury in the 105 novice hurdle, 2.5 miles. Cocktail Bleu for the informed Chris Gordon and Freddie Gordon. This will be a good race. There's some nice types in here, but I think this horse brings some rock solid form. Running 2 bumpers last year, didn't manage to get his head in front, but was second behind Idaho Sun, a nice horse of Harry Fry's that they think is quite a lot of. Beaten Cocktail Blue was in second that day, beat Supreme Malinas, who won a maiden hurdle the other week for the Scoutons impressively. And then he was third at Exeter behind Cryptic Jim, a nice horse of Joe Tizard's, who has won 1 race this season and second to a nice horse of Pipes. So I think the form stacks up really well. And I've been trying to follow informed trainers this year, and it seems to be a method that's paying off for me. So I'm going to keep with that and stick with the Gordons. And I think they've got another nice type on their hands here. So yeah, Cocktail Blue at Newbury. No prices out yet, but definitely hoping for a decent price on that one.
I'd suggest you'll get that. It looks a really decent novice hurdle on the Saturday. Some very nice horses in there. One for Ben Paul and Kalkbrenner. I'd suggest we'd probably go off the top of the market there, but there's some very good ones in Cocktail Blue for the Gordons, one that you like yourself. He's on a 5-timer. This is what everybody's tuned in for, Cotty. They don't care about what me and Matty have to say about races, because there's one man who finds tips and winners, and he's going to do that where and when this weekend to go 5 from 5.
Well, since the start of the podcast, it's already gone from 5 to 4 into even money, so that can only be a good sign. But we're going to Wetherby on Wednesday in the 8 minutes past 1. Doubt Matty will be on it because it's trained by Lucinda Russell and Michael Scudamore.
Big risk that.
He's saying the yard's not in form, but 21% strike rate in the last 2 weeks is probably just about good enough for me. Stable jockey Derek Fox takes the ride. Was last seen coming second in a Class 3 novice chase handicap round Aintree. Was beat 2.5 lengths by a horse called Jordan's Cross, who ran at the Cheltenham meeting in November on the Sunday. Looked to be the winner. Jumping the last, was coming upside a stable mate that day, but knuckled on landing and sadly fell at the last. But I'd say that's a good frank the form for me. Definitely was gonna win. Likes good ground. The ground up there tomorrow is soft, but I don't think that'll be too much of an issue with it being trained by Lucinda Russell. Did win a point on yielding ground over in Ireland, so has got bits of form on soft ground. I just think it was only beat 2.5 lengths that day by Jordan's Cross. I don't see many horses in the race that would get that close to Jordan's Cross. Connections must have been fairly keen to run this horse over fences. Had 3 runs, 2 runs last season in novice hurdles, coming second both times, and then made it seasonal reappearance at Hexham in early October. Won that day, and then they've gone straight over fences with it. So no, an interesting horse, and I think even money could look pretty silly this time tomorrow, and I don't think it will be the last we hear of this horse. I think it could be a nice horse going forward.
For his 5th win in a row, that would be.
Just worth noting there's an inspection at Wetherby at 7:45 in the morning. So
they'll be all right.
Cotty might need to fire a backup in for later on in the week, but yeah, it's only precautionary, so you'd think they'll be okay.
Yeah, Daryl from Barnsley will get his tractor out and they'll be fine come race time tomorrow, I'm sure. Great that you've picked a nap from Yorkshire there, and hopefully everybody has a nice wet day out. Very good from yourself. I'm going to go to a race that we were considering covering, actually, the long distance hurdle. Very good renewal, actually, this year, but I thought that I'd be able to find a horse that I'm expecting perennial progression from, and a horse that cost me a lot of money at Aintree last time out. So I'm trying to make a little bit of that back here. That's Honesty Policy. Gordon Elliott would hopefully he's got a couple of entries over the weekend, but this just seems the right place for him to go at 5-2. Otherwise, it's a handicap job, and he's far too out of consideration for that. For JP McManus, who's got Imposed Toy in here as well, who's a good horse, but I think this is probably the better of the two. Strong Lead is the top of the market, and we've talked about him being a good 3-miler. He's had his off days, but at the same time, he's done well, and he's done well here. I think he won this race 12 months ago as well, so I'm never going to put you off Sean Bowen, but I thought squeezing at the prices, I loved a lot of what I seen last year. It was Punchestown where he was last opposed by Jasmine DeVoe in a brilliant race that was as well. Jasmine DeVoe needed every single bit of the 3 miles that day to get home. Obviously, Jasmine DeVoe won the Albert Bartlett at the festival, so that's a fantastic form line in itself. Like I said earlier, I'm on Regent Stroll, who was half a length win at Aintree for this horse that day. And before that, we've seen some good wins at short prices. I think the progression of this horse has been very good. He's got youth on his side here. I like the idea that the Stayers division can bind horses that on the back end of the career don't really perform to that well of a level, and I'm hoping now at the age of 5 I'm going to get Honesty Policy, a good enough price here, decent enough play from me, that one in the JP McManus Silks on the Friday at Newbury. And that is going to do it for this week and for everything that you've followed through for the last couple of hours. I thank you very much. And please do remember, if you're listening on YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow as well and a like. It's greatly appreciated. Any comments you've got as well, anything you want us to answer, we'll do our best to do that. Probably more of these two than myself, of course, but it'd be great just to have a little bit of interaction. I like this is always my favorite section, and here we go again, Cotty. But I know where you're going this weekend, so it's less of a surprise to me. You're going just south of London to Newbury Racecourse to have some hot chocolates and watch the Hennessy.
Correct.
Simple. There you go. Yeah. You looking forward to it?
Yes, mate. I've never done Newbury before, so yeah, really looking forward to it. Early start, so no, make the trip. I think it's 85 miles door to door, but we could get lost on the way back, but we'll see what happens.
I look forward to seeing you in Cheltenham. Matty, you're joining them actually as well on Saturday. It's a decent Hennessy, but it's a very good card. And I've done Newbury. I was there a day you actually had. Was that horse that you had running that day? Loves good ground.
Hatton or Etalon.
Hatton. That was the bugger. Yeah, he won a nice race there, didn't he?
Runs there Friday, to be fair.
There you go. Well, we know he likes it around there, so I'll be keeping an eye on him. But you're going to join Cotty again on the hot chocolates.
Yeah, that's the plan. Just very good meeting to be able to go to. Obviously Tris has got some really nice rides, so probably head down with him, and hopefully he can land a winner. I mean, if he lands the Hennessy, I don't know what price you'd have us to end up where, to be honest, Cot, but certainly won't be back in Worcester, that's for sure. But no, yeah, looking forward to it, and we've covered plenty there. Hopefully we land a few more winners this weekend and keep on a good roll.
Absolutely, yeah. Mum won't let me come, unfortunately. I'm not allowed to play outside my bedtime on a Saturday, so disappointed I can't make it. But I'm still looking forward to watching the racing on the Saturday. I'll pick up as much of it as I can, and it should be a nice day out for you there. So hopefully you make it back at least some part north of the country after racing on Saturday. Thank you, boys. I really appreciated that. That was a long one, but thank you for sticking with us. Some brilliant racing, the return of the Great Constitution Hill, a great Hennessy, a brilliant battle in Ireland. If it's half as good as it was last week, you'll want to be back next week for the review and to take you from racing next week as well. I believe it's the Beecher next week as well, so we've got a nice little slate coming up for you too. Thanks, boys. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We will see you next week at the regular time. Take care, folks.
the color you want.